Former Obama FEMA chief storms out of MSN interview after being asked a question. He responded, "I don't have time for this bullshit." Hello and welcome back to TST. If you're new to the channel, tap on the subscription button and press the notification bell so you can receive news and updates that you can rely on daily. The former head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency abruptly ended an interview on MSNBC following a disagreement with another guest over how best to handle the spread of the coronavirus. Craig Fugate, who spent 8 years as head of FEMA under President Barack Obama, appeared on the network Thursday afternoon to talk about whether federal or state governments ought to be in charge of COVID-19 response efforts. Fugate argued that state and local governments are better situated to take the lead on how to combat the spread in their own states and communities. Meanwhile, Andy Slavitt, the former acting head of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services under Obama, disagreed. The myth of a single person in charge taking control and running this is a myth, Fugate argued. This is going to be dealt with on the front lines and local and state levels, and each state is going to be addressing this unique to their systems. Fugate said, take a watch.
I think we were using hope as a strategy. It wasn't going to be this bad. We could ease into it. We had a lot of capacity. The alarms were going off early. I think we're slow to this. Now we're playing catch up, and that's the worst position to be in. And the whole thing about having a single point person in charge, I'm going to call BS on it. I strongly disagree. That becomes a single point of failure. We actually have over 50 people that are the lead on this, and that's the state governors and their public health departments. The biggest thing right now the federal government can do is get them money, because there's not going to be enough federal resources to do what's got to be done. Governors need to be empowered to take dramatic action to protect lives, make sure they're doing everything, they maximize their resources, start up production, and get things moving. If we wait for the federal government, we're too late.
Well, let me ask you this, Craig, because there are governors that are ramping things up across the country, but they're taking different steps than other governors. This is a virus that is not respecting state lines. How can you have a coordinated response if you don't have it coordinated from the very top?
The myth of a single person in charge taking control and running this is a myth. This is going to be dealt with on the front lines at local and state levels, and each state is going to be addressing this unique to their systems. There will be some variation, and it gives us more resiliency because there are different ways to approach this, and hopefully they're sharing that information. But I've always believed the best way that the federal government can support our governors is to get out of their way, get them funding, use CDC to give guidance. As we're running out of stuff, I'm asking the question, why are we not looking at idle capabilities now? And governors just go contract for that resource. Why wait for the federal government to do it? If the federal government will just go to 100% on protective measures and reimburse them, how much more can states do so we can focus the few federal resources we have in the hardest hit areas?
So I just got some news from Mayor de Blasio here in New York, and there's been a dramatic increase in the number of cases here in New York City, 3,615 positive cases of COVID and 22 fatalities. Currently, to spread that out, there are 980 cases in Queens, 976 in Manhattan, 1,030 in Brooklyn, and 436 in the Bronx, 165 in Staten Island. I'm struck, Andy, by how quickly this has escalated. Just last week, we were considering whether or not some people in this company would go to Florida to cover the primary. That was on, Wednesday. On Thursday, that was off the table. Friday, all travel, it seems, was off the table. And that's just mirroring what's been happening across the country. At first, lockdowns weren't even considered, and now we're seeing lockdowns around the country. What we saw in China seems so draconian. And now people are wondering why we aren't doing these fever tests for people walking into buildings. Why aren't we going out there and aggressively trying to find those who might be spreading symptoms and separating them from the population?
Right. So it's a hard thing for people to grasp. But the number of cases we have right now, and even those tragic figures you just read, are going to seem minuscule in a week. The number of cases we will have will double every 3 days. Right now, it's exceeding that. And we have a large number of cases that are untested still. So with all due respect to your other guests, there's not a governor in the country that's waiting for the federal government right now. They are all acting. What they need is coordination, because we have, believe it or not, We have masks. We have a lot of these things. Guess where they are? They're sitting in the supply chain. People are profiteering off of them, or they're going to places where people are hoarding them. Now, that happens in a crisis. It's only by someone looking through the entire system and seeing where those needs are that you can say, stop hoarding them all in Texas. We need them in New York right now while we build manufacturing capability and put them in Texas. So what your other guest is suggesting here is not helpful. We need a great partnership between the federal and state government.
Bullshit people.
Craig, you want to sit down and respond to this? I guess Craig has left. Andy, he doesn't agree with you at all.
I guess not. But look, these are trying times, and everyone's trying their best. And I know Craig is, I don't know Craig personally, but I'm sure he's working his hardest and trying his best. Everybody is. These are unprecedented times. So understandable that he's frustrated.
Can we see if we can get Craig back? I'd like him to just respond if we can. I never like to leave a conversation like that. Andy, I'm going to say goodbye to you in the meantime. Thank you very much for joining us. And joining me now is the director of Columbia University's National Center for Disaster.
Why? Just because you are an Obama FEMA chief doesn't mean you have to be partisan and political even during such trying times. We're dealing with a global crisis here. Everything's locked down, all shut down. I'm not talking about a normal situation here. Everyone needs everyone's help. We need cooperation, we need coordination, we need understanding. Being selfish is the last thing we can think of being right now. But it seems when it's about people like Craig Fugate, being selfish and self-righteous is the first and foremost important thing to be, even during such an emergency. Let me know your thoughts and responses in the comments down below. If you've liked this report, let us know by tapping that like button down below, share the news among friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more news and updates on TST. I'm David Ravine, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care, stay safe.